Welcome to Different Thought. While I'm on TV talking like it's just you and me, I'm just saying how I feel, man. I ain't one of the Cosby's. I ain't go to Hill, man. I guess the money should have changed them. I guess I should have forgot where I came from. Woo! What's up, everybody? Welcome to Different Thought Podcast. We examine the culture. I am your host, Mike Hayes, and I'm sitting here with my co-host. I want to see what he gonna do here.
Sugar bear.
Really? That's the best you had to do? That's the best? Oh, so you just gonna play it safe? All right. Well, welcome to Different Thought again. So let's keep it moving. So let's get started as we do always with our take a shot for you, Sugar Bear. No, we're gonna have to come up with that. I'm not gonna continue to refer to you as Sugar Bear this whole episode, bro. We're gonna have to come up with something else, dog.
Hey man, you gotta live with it, bro.
Hell no. I'm gonna call you SB. Alright, SB.
That's fine.
Refer to no grown man.
Look,
Sugar
man,
Bear.
I'm secure.
I am too, but I ain't referring to no grown man no damn shit. Excuse me. You got me all out of character. Sorry, mom. SB, man, what's your shot for? What you taking a shot for, brother?
Just taking a shot for my family, my nephew getting married, man. It's a momentous occasion. He gives me hope. So, yeah, man. Congrats to my brother from another mother. And, yeah.
What you drinking over there?
Uncle Nears.
Nice.
Anything to bring.
All right. So I got, as usual, me being extra, I got a few shots. I want to first shout out Brian Scott 65 Sullivan from Free Agency, Mikey D from The House, DJ D Witt from Dynamo Studios, and Imperial Alexander on an incredible job. Last month we threw the first annual Workers at Avondale event. Our team got obliterated, but we're not gonna talk about that. And that's what I'm ripping today. I got my jersey on, my Different Thought jersey. You know, I got that on for that, and I just want to take that one shot for them. You know, good teamwork. You know, we pulled that together in a month, so there you have it. Shout out to you guys. Next, and by the way, I got to shout out Mr. Gerald as well from Avondale Center. The next shout I want to give is to my LBs. So when this episode airs, it will be our Alphaversary, as we like to say it in Alpha sometimes, but you know, my LBs of the Omnius 05, Omicron 5 chapter, the Resurrected Souls of the Iron Circle. And if you know, you know. Terrence, I'm over here messing up. Terrence Gills, rest in peace. Brandon Lake and Rasan Perry, or we call him Buff. Congrats, guys. This is from y'all. And then also, with that being said, the 05 chapter, we are celebrating our 40th anniversary this month. So shout out to all the brothers of the Omicron 5 chapter. And then last but not least, of course, it's my birthday this month. So happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. So there's my shot. And I'm drinking Uncle Nears as well. So yeah. Moving on, so you started to take a shot like you. For you, I'm gonna do the straight like that. So my straight like that is this: in order to really change, we have to embrace the unsafe. In this experience that I had with the workers at Avondale, there was a situation with a particular person, and I want to shout him out. You know, T Montana, big ups to you, man. You really stepped up, and I got nothing but good things to say about you. You know, there was a lot of back and forth and questioning about, you know, his brand of music and his background. And, you know, as I told other people that are involved, you know, the only way we're gonna really change the community, we have to give people like that an opportunity to show, you know, that they can do good and be of use and be of value. And so I say all that to say, again, in order to really change, we have to embrace the unsafe. And that is my straight like that. SB, what's your straight like that?
First off, my straight like that is ominous.
Ominous. What did I say?
Omnious.
Ominous. Well, y'all know I can't talk.
And then
Ominous. You're right. SB.
and then international travel, man. Folks, get your passports, get out there and see the world. Because you will be surprised at what you see. Everything is not what you're used to, and I love that about traveling internationally. So get out there, see the planet.
All right, so we'll keep this thing moving. If you know from the opening line or opening lines today, so we had the West Day ever. I guess now we gotta call this the, I don't even know. Oh yay, or pray for yay, or what we gonna call this? What we gonna call this, Cal?
I don't know.
Oh yay, do we walk through the valley? That's what we gonna call it, I guess. But anyways, we will talk about if you have been, unless you live on a rock, if you in the culture, there's been a lot of back and forth about the controversial Kanye West, or as he likes to say, that's like calling him Cassius now. So talk about yay. So I guess we're gonna kind of march through this this controversial conversation, and we're gonna start off with first this whole White Lives Matter shirt. Thoughts?
In what regard? Like,
Just what when you saw it, what first came to your mind? First.
I mean, I guess it's well. I think a lot of times, most of like anything like that, to me, I always put things in context. Like if I saw a person on the street wearing a shirt like a White Lives Matter shirt, I'm like, okay, well, that's how you feel. But then if Kanye does it, obviously there's more to it because he's not just a person off the street. So when I see Kanye doing something like that, it's no different than him wearing a jacket with a rebel flag on it or a MAGA hat or something like that. That's just what he does. He does that to get attention. He does that to spark controversy intentionally. And what I'm going to call misguided genius. Because I think Kanye is a very intelligent person. I think he just focuses his energy in a way that's like intentionally destructive. When in his mind, I think he feels like he needs to destroy it to build it up to make it better. He's got like the Hydra approach. You know what I'm saying? he kind of like, or like, you know, like the greater the suffering, you know, the greater the good or something. That's just, it's weird. He's kind of perverse in that way. And I don't know why, but just, so I see a White Lives Matter shirt on Kanye. I'm like, okay, whose attention is he trying to get today? Why, and then what's going to be the outcome? Like what's going to be the backlash? And does anybody even care? Because at some point, you're gonna cry wolf so many times, and folks just saying like,
See,
I know.
I have a very different. I have a very different vibe or feeling about it. In that, like you, when I saw it, I was like, "There's more to it," because you know we're talking about somebody that went on record and said the president of the United States don't care about black people. Then went on record and wore designed the Confederate flag in his designs because he was like, it's cool. He also called himself a god, which, depending on your religion and things of that nature, that's controversial. So I'm like, oh yeah, he wore a White Lives Matter shirt. He also wore a MAGA shirt, a MAGA hat. So I'm like, this doesn't surprise me. But it also made me go like, okay, let me go do some research. And say what you want. You can say I'm a Kanye stan or whatever it is.
It's cool.
I am a big Kanye fan. I think he doesn't surprise me. But when I go read the other interviews, like you only hear about the Drink Champs interview. You hear about the shop interview that they did air. And those are the biggest things you hear about. And then you hear about the stuff he did on Good Morning America and all that stuff. But what you don't see is the interviews that he's done outside of those that are not really well publicized. In which there's one interview that I put on our IG group, in which he was talking about the White Lives Matter. He kind of mentioned that he was like, I've seen white people wear Black Lives Matter shirts, and they don't really do nothing. They just wear the shirt like, oh, we feel sorry for you, little black boy, and then. He was like, well, all right, I'll wear White Lives Matter shirt to say the same thing. But then being totally fair, his messaging contradicts that. Because then when you show up with Candace Owens and then get on Drink Champs and talk about the George Floyd situation in the way that he did it, it's almost like whopper. So as far as the White Lives Matter thing goes, I get the movement of Black Lives Matter. But the issue that I tend to have with Black Lives Matter, the organization it's corrupt. You can't get around it. You got, it's all this stuff is starting to come out now. Is that conspiracy or is it real? That's still to be debated. The truth will eventually rise and come out. But, I think there is some points there of, be careful of who you throw everything back, throw your support into, I guess. What do you think? SB.
So with Black Lives Matter or Kanye?
Kanye, just in general. I'm more talking about in general of just the simple fact that you do have this narrative that Kanye wore White Lives Matter is so disrespectful to the black community, but I think this goes back into the overall theme of this season that I tried to incorporate is think more, follow less, and I think that and me and Kyle had this conversation off record, but I think that a lot of times in our community, we'll go with the popular demand, what everybody is saying, instead of doing our own research and formulating our own opinions. And with Kanye, I have mixed emotions mixed feelings about. I have mixed emotions about it because on one hand I'm like, dog, why would you be wearing a White Lives Matter shirt? But then when he explains some of the things, when he tries to explain it, it's like, okay, I can kind of see that, but why would you be wearing a White Lives Matter shirt? But we don't do a good job. And then it's like, do we do a good job of policing ourselves? Like, you have this Black Lives Matter movement, and you have this organization that was started for that, and it seems, as of right now, it seems that it was it's somewhat corrupt. Like they took money and used it for other means other than advancing, And the same goes to, like for me, the same goes to NAACP. Of my personal experiences with the NAACP is, is it really about the advancement of black people, or is it more about the advancement of a certain party's agenda? I know those a lot.
In terms of Kanye in this space, it's all about branding at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whether White Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, they're all things to be branded to get behind, no different than Nike or Adidas. So the difference is, I think, Black Lives Matter is an established thing that basically stands behind, police brutality. That's
right.
The backing behind it, the things that we're trying to combat. Is police brutality, that's the core value here. To create and wear a white
that's not all Black Lives Matter.
I understand that. But I'm saying,
you look at the website.
I know. But we gotta
on
something because it's too much to talk about. So, but in terms of the grand scheme of things, and the layperson is going to see it, they're trying to tie it to police brutality, Black Lives Matter protests in the street. So, to create a White Lives Matter shirt is being intentionally contrary.
Yeah.
To what end, I don't know, because there's nothing behind it other than the fact that you just changed from one culture to another to be just an ass. It's like, and if you gotta, to me, it's like if you wear something and too many people gotta try to figure it out, like I think in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of pointless. Like you got like a really small group of people that's gonna pay attention to it,
I agree.
try to ask questions about it. The majority of the world's gonna be like, all right.
Well, but I think he also has proven the point of like, you know, kind of what I've been saying is like we don't think for ourselves. We let popular opinion motivate our thoughts. Our
To a degree. I mean, we let
not SB and Mike. SB and Mike will actually do research.
Not necessarily. Depends on what it is. I mean, I think it's still we're gonna run things like the democratic system that we in. You know, we elect senators because our senators or mayors or whatever are supposed to do the best for their constituents in that space because we don't have the time to do all of this stuff.
But
to move people.
But the thing is that we also take local elections more serious than most people.
I'm just saying, I think it's a matter of trust.
Yeah, sure.
So it comes down to trust, and like we trust. Some people trust celebrities more than they do their senators.
So basically, I guess what you're getting at is like, you know, Kanye. I think he won people over when he said George Bush doesn't like black people, and everybody just loves Kanye and keep trying to give him a pass. And it's just like
because you're trying to trust
come
him.
on, bro.
He said some things. He said so people, particularly black folks, trusted Kanye because the lyrics in his songs early on made sense and they resonated.
They still do.
They do, but it's different now. So,
well, I guess,
so I'm saying he earned the trust of people, and then he's taken that, he's earned the trust of people, which gave him a certain level of status. Cool.
Mm.
What are you doing with that? With great power comes great responsibility, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's like, is he using people in his power that he's earned over time irresponsibly?
I think you have there's a couple of things that come to mind with Kanye. You know, there's this old saying, there's a thin line between genius and crazy, and Kanye teeters it all the time. I also think, as a creative that Kanye is, I think creatives are not afraid to throw crap on the wall and see what sticks. I think Kanye does a lot of that. But I also am like, if you watch Genius, if you listen to his earlier music, if you really listen to it and really watched all the stuff, none of this should surprise you. Like he has always said, I'm going to say what's on my mind, and I'm not going to hold back because you can't control it. And that's always been his MO.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time that he feels, in my opinion, every time that he feels like someone is trying to control him, he then goes, he lashes out.
So I guess the discussion needs to be about the consequences of his lashing out.
Agreed. But I also think that I'm glad you said that. I also think that the discussion needs to be on this thing in the black community that I continue to see, and I've dealt with some of these things firsthand, is why is it that when in the black community, and this is kind of a different thought, unintended, is why is it in the black community when someone tells us, hey, I have these problems, we don't take that and really value that information and say, okay, I'm not going to let you do X, Y, and Z, right? For instance, with Kanye, man told, like, I don't know, I follow Dame Dash, and there was recently a post Dame Dash made in which someone was asking him about his thoughts on Kanye, and he was just like, I'm concerned. I'm paraphrasing, he basically like, I'm concerned because the man told y'all he's got mental issues, and y'all keep putting a camera and a mic in front of his face. And when you look up, a lot of the people that are putting the camera and mic in front of his face look like you and I. And it's like, at what point do we start saying, you know what, we need to leave that person alone and let them deal with certain things, and then when they are finally back, they'll have this, turnaround story of how, they dealt with all these other issues. You see it all the time in white community and white celebrities of like, Bruce Willis just did it. he's been diagnosed with some illness, and they basically just like, we're just gonna take him out of everything because he can't remember his lines, he can't do this. We're just gonna let him go away, and hopefully he'll be back to a good point, and then we'll bring him back. You see that in other communities, but you don't see that with us.
So
Instead, we see.
Who is we? I mean, the man made his posts about stuff, and he's lashed out about things, but then somebody is saying, "Hey, man, go on this podcast, go on this talk show, go do these things."
Well,
So,
I'm more looking at it. I'm more
even if
looking
you
at it like with Nori. With Nori, I kind of respect the shot, and I'm gonna tell you why. I kind of respect the shot by not airing the episode, but and I heard Cal Salvia, but at the same point in time, it's twofold because I feel like he's such a controversial figure that my ratings are gonna skyrocket if I get him on this show. But at the same point in time, I would never, like, as a black man, and maybe I'll never be famous because of this, but and I may lose money because of this, but I would never bring somebody I know that is not mentally in a good place and have this conversation. And that's just because of my personal experiences with people with mental health issues. You know, and I've just been around it, and people always say, like, you know, they don't give them a reason to act that way. You really don't know until you really have dealt with someone on an intimate level of mental issues to see, like, oh, this is bad. Like,
Yeah.
Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Okay.
so it might sound nice.
This is what I'm a Kanye stan, like Mike, but I'll be honest. Kanye has gone on a tirade for quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? We, and as a Kanye fan, you know, you're used to it, but at the same time, like SB said, there has to be some consequences.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that he said, he has to be held accountable. And granted, he has said that he has mental issues, but that's like saying, you know, anybody else, like anybody who's going to an AA meeting, you know, when you Alcoholics Anonymous, they tell you that you cannot be around certain things. You can't be around an environment no more.
Right.
Kanye is to the point now where he knows he's special, he knows he's an icon, and he's going to continue to do what Kanye wants to do at the detriment of black people. And I get it, you know, like how as black people we say the N-word because we try to take power over and all this. There is no point in wearing a rebel flag. There is no point in wearing a White Lives Matter shirt. Now I get it, I get what you're trying to say, but at the end of the day, like, optics do matter. And
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, as a community, though, I'm looking, guys. The name of the show is called Different Thought. So the different thought is this: why are we not, as a community, saying, "Hey, Kanye, come here"?
Because Kanye not gonna listen.
Because you said it earlier. The moment you try to control Kanye is when he lashes out.
The only community,
but the thing is, like Noriega. Hey man, you can't come on Drink Champs. If you watch Drink Champs, and this is the part that I don't think people get. If you watch Drink Champs, in the opening of Drink Champs, he talks about how the last time this man was on here, our ratings went through the roof, and this and that, blah blah blah. You're only thinking about yourself.
Well, yeah.
Why do we as a community? Let me finish. Why do we as a community have this "I only care about myself" mentality? We don't have this "let's come together, let's work together, and let's build together." If you look at the Jewish community, because Kanye talked about this in Drink Champs, they work together. They come together and they bring themselves together and they work together. And that's why they being able to grow all this wealth. They came from, they didn't come from the same meager beginnings as we did, as black folks, but they did come from some struggle.
I would disagree with that, but okay.
Disagree with
the beginnings of the Jewish people.
I mean, yeah, if you want to go there, I'm just saying from the standpoint of, like,
I would say that maybe
they had Holocaust, we had slavery. For U.S. history, I ain't talking about world history. World history, yeah, they got some rough.
That's right. So I think that's the difference. I think if we're going to make a contrast between the difference between the Jewish people and black people, the Jewish community is thousands of years old. Where the black community is technically only a couple hundred.
The black community is older than the Jewish community.
Not
In America.
the blackness is an American thing.
That's-
Oh, you talking about like okay?
Yeah.
Because we talking about
You right.
black.
I said correct.
That's all I'm saying. So
Yeah,
black people
But
move differently.
the
than-
reason black culture is so it's like open up Pandora's box because you can say that you're correct, but the reason that black culture in America is so new is because we were taken from our culture.
That's what I'm saying.
So
when you add, I'm providing a response to your question,
yeah.
which is why is it that black people don't come together like Jewish people? My response to that, or my thought on it, is that the age of the communities themselves, the fact that Jewish people struggled and they stuck together, even throughout
all of history.
they really were generally in one place.
Yeah.
You know, Middle East, Europe, all of that stuff. Whereas you have a group of people that were intentionally separated. So it's you established a whole other culture in a short period of time.
And the thing is, there is no other community that was pitted against each other. Like, we were pitted against each other from the day that we got on American soil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and over time, it's been studies that's been done that basically says that people who have experienced, like, for instance, your great-grandfather, right? Both of y'all great-grandfathers. The things that they experienced, they pass down to your grandfather, to your father. And they don't even have to directly tell you about it. It's literally ingrained in you. Like, it's a DNA trait. So that gets passed down to you. So we not that far removed just from Jim Crow. So imagine, like all other communities, I don't want to put out one community. There is no other community that has that type of span of
generational trauma.
Well, but I hear that and I agree with it. But it's just, to me, what I struggle with so much is, and I'm kind of switching topics here, is the issue that I have so much is with this whole Kanye situation is like Dave Chappelle said, and I'm gonna paraphrase, but he was talking about the FCC when he had the Chappelle show, and he was talking about the F word, and when he got called in and was told you can't say the F word on TV, but he was like, but I can say the N word, and they're like, yeah. He's like, why can't I say the F word? Because you're not one of them. Well, I'm not an N word either. Is what his response was. And all that to say this is, why is it that it is okay to beat and bash the black community as much as possible, and do all these things, and then the second you even hit, because if you really like dig into this whole anti-Semitic issue with Kanye, I mean the DEFCON, what do you say? DEFCON 3. DEFCON 3.
I don't know what's good or bad.
Yeah, the DEFCON 3.
The higher it up, the worse it is.
Okay.
So.
I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jews. I mean, I can see how that's taken way, can be taken a certain way, but there's plenty of things that have been said in just the last couple of years towards the black community in which no one has been banned for saying the things that they say, or now you get ridiculed for wanting to talk about the critical race theory or just talking about the real history of America. But you don't see anybody in an uproar wanting to cut certain people off for standing with one side of the argument.
Well, I think that's honestly, it's like 2, maybe 3 different conversations. Just because one, the first conversation is freedom of speech. There is no such thing as freedom of speech.
It's not.
2,
well, it's freedom of speech against the government.
No, it's freedom of speech.
That's the
no, it's freedom of speech.
constitutional amendment.
It's also freedom of consequence. People don't understand there are, the energy you put out is going to
get back some type of
Right.
energy. So you can have freedom of speech, but you have, like Muhammad Ali. Hey, I ain't going over there because they not calling me the N-word. Y'all calling me the N-word. So why would I go fight for y'all and y'all don't even love and trust me? So it goes to that same. But they were like, all right, that's fine. Don't go fight for us. But guess what? You ain't gonna be fighting. You ain't gonna be making no money boxing here.
I think
you do have freedom of speech. You just gotta deal with the consequences.
I personally, I don't believe in freedom of speech because if you have to worry about, I mean, I get what you're saying, the consequence, you got to deal with it. But if you got to deal with that consequence, then you're imprisoned to what you can say. You can't say it freely. You know what I'm saying? Even against the government, you say anything against the government, your phone already tapped. They at your door. Number two is, I think the conversation shouldn't be about a culture, because at that point we get into muddy waters. It's too dangerous of a territory. I think the actual conversation should be, where is the value that people place on black people? You know what I'm saying? Like, that we aren't valuable to other people unless we're doing for those people.
It's a different thought.
So we can't. I don't want to have a conversation about Jews.
It's on time. It is.
I don't want to have a conversation about Jews, about Hispanics, about the LGBT community, because at the end of the day, there are black people in each one of those communities, and it kind of goes to with women during black women during the feminist movement, where
they were just left out.
The only reason they were included was because they had a uterus,
but they were still slick left out.
Right. So
and they still are left out.
So it's black people in each one of those communities that I've just mentioned, some shape, form, or fashion, and they are at the bottom of the totem pole. So the real question is, how do we get people to see value? And you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a whole nother conversation.
You got different thoughts of the day, bro. That was my different thought. Is like, how do we start to value ourselves, and how do we, like?
Well, it's not.
But I think that's always, it goes back to, if you listen, for all the real listeners out there of Different Thought Podcasts, season 1, I used to always say it, the black agenda, bro. Where are we on this black agenda? How do we get people to see us? I personally think it's us coming together. It's us supporting each other. It's us in situations like this, when we see someone that is struggling with a mental illness, and saying, hey man, I love you, but I'm not gonna put you on my show. I'm not gonna have you sitting here talking, because you even though you will make my ratings skyrocket and you will make me some money, I care about you more than I care about my pocket.
But even then, think about that. Would you rather Kanye go on Drink Champs and have that rant, or would you rather him go to some other white platform? You know what I'm saying? So
I hear you.
It's the platform that he went on. But
see, here's how I would have played it if I was Noriega. I'd have cut off all that stuff. I'd have only talked about music coming out.
Oh, Kanye, this is the thing.
Funny stories. Like, if you watched it, yes, they open up and he just goes on this rant.
Kanye goes,
but that rant didn't have to be aired.
You can ask Kanye what's his next album coming out, or what's a funny story. He gonna be like, yeah, let me tell you about my kids. But before we get into my kids, let me tell you about how terrible my ex-wife is. So it's gonna get turned anyway.
But I'm saying, you have top-notch editors at that point. Like, I can cut all that out and we can just talk about music. Like, I don't have to air all these things out. Like, I don't have to put all these, because you want ratings. Let's just be honest. People want ratings. Different Thought wants ratings. I'm not gonna lie about that. But at the end of the day, if I know someone has a mental issue and I'm bringing them on, I would try not to bring them into put them in a situation in which they could lose.
And I would say,
because at the end of the day, if I put him in a good light and let him try to explain the White Lives Matter stuff, and just leave it at that, and not get into all the other stuff, and he's able to build back his wealth, that opens up opportunities for other people, right? But I just think that we get so concerned about being seen and not about, hey, how do we advance our people?
I think, I'm a Noriega fan. I
I'm
love
Noriega
Drink
fan
Champs. I will say this. I think Nori is for the culture, so I don't think that he put out that.
I don't know.
I don't think he put it out to make Kanye look bad or anything. I don't think he knew how big
Bad,
that interview
yeah.
would get.
Yeah.
Like I
I
really
agree.
don't.
I don't think because if you listen to him on Breakfast Club, he said like I didn't think that it was
Right.
gonna have this backlash, and I get it. I mean,
But to me, it's just crazy. You know how there's a lot of other stuff going on,
yeah.
but we focusing on Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me, that is the crazy.
Well,
and I understand that music and entertainers drive cultural things at times, but it's a lot of stuff that not just different thought, but I'm talking about the traditional media could talk about, but they choose to focus on Kanye. They're not gonna bring up nobody positive in the black community. I watch the news plenty of times where they give like a 30-second snippet of a positive thing happening in the black community, but they're gonna spend the whole newscast talking about a gang fight or something that happened wrong. So honestly, media drives opinions. It drives thought all the time.
Well,
you know
and
what I'm saying?
it kind of goes back to what I said about what you said about bringing some value to our people is we gotta take control of the narrative. But for me, part of taking that control is to reach back. I mean, I keep saying this. Like, I honestly feel this. If you do not teach this new generation and these new young kids, you don't have to go down this route. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk about me and the black role model issues and things of that nature, and the biggest misconception for me, especially growing up, was I went to a private school. I was considered smart. I know y'all don't. Excuse me. I know SB don't think that I'm that smart, but I was considered intelligent and all these things. But at the end of the day, for me, I did not look at myself as successful because I wasn't a baller, shot caller, 20-inch blades. I wasn't that. So, I think, and the only reason I felt like that is because I didn't really have people in my life that said, hey, man, you can make just as much, if not more, than Lil Wayne by just learning these math equations. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like as a community we don't do enough of uplifting each other, and we could do it. Well, not enough. I don't think we pay enough attention to it.
I just think, and I think this
SB over here like
two things.
What you gonna say, bro?
I was waiting. I didn't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have
taking my notes.
I'm gonna have to do a compilation of every time you say something about SB, all these episodes. Whenever you say about anything, I feel like he like when you said how he think you ain't smart. His response every time is just be like,
nah, SB be trying to play me, dog. SB be over here.
But I think, like, honestly, the overarching thing with dealing with Kanye, I think the day that Kanye changed was, I think it was November 2007, whenever that was. I remember that was my freshman year in college. But that's when his mom passed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course.
So from that moment, I don't think he ever truly healed. And you don't ever truly heal from something like that. But I think Kanye just kept moving so much that he never sat down. Well, and then once he had all his kids, that provided stability for him. But then once he lost that, it was like,
but
you see, all this wasn't happening when he had his kids.
I also think that people, as I said, with the whole Drink Champs thing, is I think that people saw Kanye as a meal ticket, and I think that people saw Kanye as, hey, I can make a lot of money off of you. And so they tried to instill their thoughts and their opinions on Kanye. And I think that when his mom died, it's a really, really, spoiler alert, it's a really, really telltale sign, story, whatever you want to call it, ingenious, when Kanye goes and talks to his mother. And it was around the time he was about to blow. And she said, a giant looks in the mirror and sees what? Clouds. he doesn't see himself. And I think for me, that scene or whatever you want to call it told me that his mom would make sense of it all for him. Because, and I ain't gonna lie, my mama does that for me. I don't know how y'all's mamas and how y'all are, but for me, when I go talk to my mom about things that are getting on my nerves, she'll give me a tidbit, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see it from that perspective. Or, oh, you make me not feel so crazy. So I think in Kanye's mind, he hasn't had anybody that says the right therapist. Like, I can't wait for next season because we're gonna talk about mental health and therapies. I think one thing that in my journey with and we'll talk more about it. But in my journey with finding a therapist and sitting down with a therapist and things of that nature, the problem that I have is, if I'm about to give you all this information about me, you're equipped to either build me up or break me down. And I think, when Kanye, you just listen to what he says. I don't negotiate with therapists. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's been told some things in which people have, because you even look at like the Mike Tyson Hulu documentary when they're talking about Gus, and Gus was like, I want you to be a monster. And as a black man, like that, you want to be a monster? Like, what's up with that? And he had him go to a hypnotist and talk to him in his dreams and things of that nature. And it's just, you have to watch who. You have to watch what you put in your body.
You just.
I know. I want.
You just made me think about something. Kanye need to do hot boxing with Mike Tyson. I think that'd be a great
Mike
interview.
would break him all the way down.
Yeah, because I think Kanye needs somebody. He needs to talk to somebody who can possibly beat him up. Because that's honestly it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Mike don't care.
So
like,
what we gonna do is
I mean, if that happened, I think
we're gonna drive this. That's gonna be the campaign. Kanye on hot box.
Oh yeah. So, but I'm gonna pass it off to SB.
SB, man, you got the court, bro.
Yeah,
it's all you.
I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts, bro.
Oh, it made sense during the conversation, but I was like, I don't want to butt in and stuff. Like, so now my thoughts are like completely backtracking a whole bunch of things.
My apologies, brothers.
No, it's cool.
me
man.
Me and Kyle over here.
It's cool.
Mm.
It's a lot. I think. So to go back to the community aspect of it, I think the challenge is that we have two contradicting modes of operation in black culture. Whereas one is get the bag.
Mm-hmm.
But you just described we got to come together as a community. Those two things don't work hand in hand with each other.
You're right.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, I mean, and I think we can see that in any celebrity. It's just like people trying to get the bag. So it's like, yeah, if somebody's like, yeah, man, I can get Kanye West to come on my show and he can be Kanye and do this stuff and people going to listen to my show just because he's there. Cool, I'm getting the bag, and that's part of the culture. So, but at the same time, in the back of your mind, it's like, yeah, Kanye crazy. You probably shouldn't do it. But, so it's like, I think it's that those two things that are fighting each other, and I think we are, I think in really the infancy of what black culture is they're learning those things. Like with people. We've seen it over the last century, like people getting taken advantage of in music and in acting and all that type of stuff, and just celebrity in general, and how we've seen how different communities and like to use NWA as an example, and how they were taken advantage of, and several artists in that period in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s taken advantage of.
Ice Cube was considered anti-Semitic. Well, it still is considered anti-Semitic.
by other cultures. So. But it's like, but the mindset was get the bag, and you do anything to step on each other to do that, and even kill each other to do that, and that stems back hundreds of years. So it's like that trauma is still there. I think other people recognize that trauma is still there and use it against us, use it against the culture in order to advance themselves. And so it's like, I think the movement is happening now of people being more aware of those things and the mental health aspects of it, and being able to take advantage of that and do it in a positive way.
But I think in terms of the consequences, so y'all talked about consequences a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, cool. You said something bad about black people. Take away that 14% of the population. I think we still gonna survive. And then the wealth that a lot of that population doesn't really have, they might have spending power, but in true wealth and ownership, not so much. So I think that's part of it too. And so, and it's not, I don't even think it's that people recognize it. It's really the hard hitting consequences of what happens when you do something against a specific culture. Like, so like, I think just like in war games or anything else, somebody does something against your country, you're going to respond twice as hard just to prove a point. And I think that's what we see with the Jewish community or LGBTQ. It's like, all right, you want to say something crazy about us? We going to fire back just because we can.
Well, I guess the part for me that's so hard is with the Jewish community is that at times it feels as if blacks can't be Jews.
It ain't about that.
No. This is
it ain't even that deep.
No, well, for me, it is.
I know, but we talking about them.
I understand
How they may see it. And it's not, and I know it's not a us and them.
Well,
but it's just
the Jewish people that I've been around. It's like when I tell them my history, there's a part of my background that has some ties to Jewish descent, and they're like, "There's no way you're black." And I'm like, "What do you mean?"
But I mean, at the end, it's all about branding, though.
No, I hear you, but I'm just saying, like, to me, it's that narrative of like only a certain particular type of white person can be a Jew.
Absolutely,
a Jewish person,
mm-hmm.
And it's like no, Jews
could be anybody.
Could be anybody, just like Christianity
could be anybody,
just like Muslims, just like anybody.
And that's the thing, and it's always at the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I just feel as if there's something to be learned.
A lot to be learned
from just the Jewish community. Is like, hey, and I get it what you said earlier about the history of the Jewish community, but I think it's at a point now where we got to start understanding, like, hey man, we're one. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of the only way I always tie this is I use the Greek metaphor. So like in NPAC, I'm sure y'all have experienced this. I'm sure you experienced. You went to your first clave and things of that nature.
Mm.
I've been to several alpha conventions, and you've been to several claves. And we like to challenge each other on who knows what. But at the end of the day, it's like this: you got your letters. I got my letters in my fraternity. You can't take them away from me.
You're right.
So therefore, if I don't know something, instead of attacking me, you might as well educate me. You see what I'm saying?
But
like,
I think that's the.
But that's my point. It's we get hype on. I know more than you, and now I'm going to bully you or do something outside of out of character.
And that's again the hypocrisy of the culture.
Yeah, that's my point. It's that's where you get this whole like when you talk. I remember, I don't know, Kyle, if you had this in college, but I had this. It's like I had very conversations with Omegas. I had conversations with Kappas. I had conversations with Sigmas. Is we educated gangs now. Because it becomes into this like, you don't know what I know and this and that, and I did this first, or I did that, or this person is this and this person is that, and it just gets to the point like, hey, at the end of the day, we all black folk. Let's just work together.
Yeah, that's what it's intended to be.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying. Like if you read history volumes, if you read the history of these founders, they didn't look at each other like you're beneath me. Like they look at each other like, all right, man, you satisfy a different need for the black community.
Right.
I satisfy a different need for the black community. So therefore, we could work together. You know, we satisfy different needs for the black community, and that's it. Like, and let's leave it at that. But we can work together.
Yeah.
So
that was good for about 50 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That should be an episode. We should talk about that. Where it changed.
I would say the 70s, post World War II. I think it changed. I would think that next generation, which was 69, right? 8, 9.
As my daddy would say, that's a chapter. Sorry. I'm sorry.
See, look, you just did exactly.
I'm sorry.
You just did exactly what you.
I'm sorry. You just
broke what you just broke down.
I relapsed.
You sure did.
My bad.
Literally.
My bad.
Proof that the trauma is real.
My bad. That was incorrect of me. I was out of line. I apologize.
Uncouth.
I take my comments back.
You don't.
Matter of fact, Cal, cut that out of the show.
Nope, leave it in there.
Not really, but you put it in there. Anyways, all right. So, anything else before I get into the before you eat segment? Cal.
It's a wrap.
All right, man. I appreciate it. It's a good conversation, man. So today's before you eat is about Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington. Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington created a school to educate black children in the South. So, we all know who Booker T. Washington is. Okay, so let's talk about it. So, in 1910, Julius Rosenwald, a Jewish philanthropist and president of Sears and Roebuck and other company department stores, read a book by Booker T. Washington, an educator who started his life as a slave and eventually built up the illustrious Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. This was the start of a remarkable collaboration of the two men. Public education for black children was chronically underfunded in the segregated schools of the South. Over a span of decades, Rosenwald and Washington built 5,000 schools that educated more than 600,000 black children, approximately 1/3 of all black children at the time, in what became known as the Rosenwald School Project. Washington also engaged with the Jewish community, speaking at synagogues around the country. So, as always, talked about this whole anti-Semitic thing and blacks and Jews and things of that nature. I challenge you all to go read more about the relationship between the black community and the Jewish community, and just educate yourself, and especially educate yourself on Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington. As always, I challenge you all to think, do, be different. Thank you for listening to